Tomb Raider is the latest video game movie adaptation. Yikes. Uh, as you know, video game movies have just not done well critically. Most of them are pretty terrible. But this is a reboot, and it's basically about Lara Croft, played by Alicia Vikander, and she discovers something that her father left behind, and she goes to try to look for it. I don't want to try to get any spoilers just in case it is a spoiler. But okay, like I said before, video game movies usually do not work. They are usually terrible. And so there was a little bit of concern going into this movie, especially since the critics haven't been so strong on it. They haven't been trashing it like a lot of other video game movies. In fact, this is actually one of the higher rated video game movies on Rotten Tomatoes. But, however, you know, like I said, I was a little bit worried. Well, not really worried, I was concerned. Like, yeah, that's the best way to describe it. I was concerned going into this movie. And walking out of it, I had a blast. Tomb Raider is by far the greatest video game movie by a clear mile. This movie is so much fun. It is also really heartfelt. The characters are strong, and the action is really cool. I'll get into some aspects that weren't so cool about the action a little bit later, but I thought this movie was actually pretty great, actually. And that's weird. It's weird saying that Tomb Raider, the video game movie, in my opinion, is great. But I can't help it. There weren't that many things I had a problem with in this movie. As I said before, the characters are all well fleshed out and entertaining to watch. Of course, Lara Croft, played by Alicia Vikander, Alicia Vikander is so good as Lara Croft. They did not treat her as a sex symbol in this movie. She goes through stuff, especially when she gets hurt, that's just not pretty to look at. And they weren't afraid to do that. They weren't afraid to have Lara Croft, this mostly sex symbol character in the 90s video games, and have her be more grounded and realistic. Sort of like the new Lara Croft games. I mean, I haven't played them. I don't really play that many video games. But from what I've heard, this actually is pretty accurate to how the reboot video games were. But I don't really look for accuracy. I just look for quality of the movie. Sorry. But like I said, this movie did things really, really well. This one character, her sidekick? I forgot his name. That's not really on the movie, I'm just bad with names. But, he was really entertaining. He was funny at times, but however, the comedy didn't overshadow when he needed to be serious. Like, when he needed to be serious, like, he was locked in there, and he really is serious for most of the movie. It's just when you first see him, he's pretty funny to watch. And one thing that surprised me about Tomb Raider, the villain, played by Walton Goggins. This guy, like when I was going into Tomb Raider, I thought that they were just going to have, you know, the typical Hollywood cliche these days, where the villain just gets tossed to the side and, like, he's a plot twist. Later on in the movie, he's like a plot twist villain or whatever. And then there's just a bland action sequence that, yeah. No, with Walton Goggins' character in the movie, he is straight up the bad guy from the get-go, and he has a lot of screen time. That way, you understand his motivations, and he's also, like I said with some of the other characters, very entertaining to watch. And he comes off as a legitimate threat. And I loved that. I can't believe they actually did that with the villain in this movie. Because it would have been so easy just to have a plot twist villain. It's like the easiest, in my opinion, laziest way to have a villain in a movie. But they did it really well. They did it really well, the villain. And like I said before, the action, it is pretty brutal. Sometimes there's especially during an action sequence in a jungle where Lara Croft is going through various different places during this scene. The CGI isn't strong enough to warrant, like, well, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the CGI is not strong enough to overuse, because you can overuse CGI in a good way. Like, for example, like I said, with Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, Gravity, all those, like, those movies and probably some others do overuse CGI, but it doesn't become a problem because the CGI is good enough to overuse. The CGI in Tomb Raider, while it's not bad CGI, sometimes the effects can look pretty cool, but it's not good enough to overuse. And, well, yeah, that's basically what I'd say about that. And before any really hardcore conservatives try to say, this is just an SJW women propaganda movie, they just treat the men like shit. No. The men are pretty badass in this movie as well, especially her sidekick. I still don't know his name. Like, even in other movies like Wonder Woman and Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the men are not shoved to the side. They do have a very strong presence, and they are very cool characters in those movies. And that's the same thing with Tomb Raider. The male characters all do have a lot of really well shining spots, but of course the main spotlight is on our main hero, Lara Croft, which is how it should be. The main character should be the spotlight, or at least the main hero should be the spotlight. So please trust me, in case there's any hardcore conservatives out there, and I'm not saying all conservatives, I'm just saying the really, really hardcore ones that don't want to have any kind of inclusiveness. All the characters in this movie shine so brightly, and this is not and it's not what you would call an SJW movie that has what's that stupid word they always pop up saying? Oh man, what? Crap, I'm trying to remember what it was. Fuck. Whoa. An agenda. Yeah, that's it. This isn't a movie that has an agenda. Like, no, this is just cool. These are just some really badass characters who have a lot of really good depth to them and character and entertainingness to their characters amongst a really cool story. And it's another thing that was weird was that the third act was also really cool, because as much as I love Wonder Woman, I do think maybe one of the weakest parts of the movie were its third act. But with Lara Croft, all three acts are very entertaining to watch. They're very whenever they're not entertaining, they're being I'm trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're being emotional in the best way possible. But yeah, I actually loved Tomb Raider. And so I'm going to give Tomb Raider a 9 out of 10. I know, at least for me anyways, the first great video game movie. Again, critics aren't really glowing for this movie, but at the very least, they're not trashing it. Like, they're not saying it's like the worst thing ever. Most people would say that this is the best video game movie. I certainly say it's the best video game movie. But the main question is, what do you think about Tomb Raider? Have you seen Tomb Raider? Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like. Share the video so we can get the channel circulated. And if you want to see more, and after this message, click this. Do you like my videos? Do you know how hard it is to make my videos? Huh? Do you? Anyways, why not consider becoming a patron on my Patreon? Just $10 a month and you're already contributing so much to me. This way I can help with purchasing Movie Pass every month. I can get new, better equipment. Overall, it just means better videos for you guys. Check out my Patreon, check out the perks, and see if you're interested.